Celestial. Hello, Bhagavad Gita. Let me see what comes out of me when I read thee. Okay, I don't know, I think I fell again for something. It's really strange. Sometimes I feel like there are these entities that try to get you to do something that you don't want to do. So stop seeing people as humans. That's the best advice I can give you. It's the form and the formlessness, which means that in every form that you see, there's also the formlessness. So why is something taking shape in your life? That's a good question. Now, in a way, I'm advertising hikes. I say, hey, you can join me, right? I mean, not to you, but people where I believe are somewhere here in the area where I live. So I also have this, reality and illusion. Illusion, that is the form and the formlessness. What you believe to be real, it has the counterpart basically already in it. So if I go to the park and I see someone that I think I know, that's the form. Something is taking shape. But what is it saying? Hey, come here, play frisbee, smoke. But if I'm not biting... So I often had the problem, I met people in the park, but they always felt like they weren't real. Like these people were just something I was trying to add to myself to feel more complete. I also decided against using this for my podcast. I mean, I will publish it on my podcast, but it's not going to be the main thing. It's just going to be its own thing. Like an extra. Because it's too early now to record for the podcast. I also decided to do this recording because I just had this insight that I was being played again. Why? Because I felt incredibly anxious. Like I have to take responsibility for someone who may want to join for a hike. But I don't have to do that. Because let's say you are real and you say you're gonna join for a hike, but instead you choose to stand in the... to stick to the park, smoke cannabis, and play frisbee, well then you're just a chicken. I mean, and you're untrue. Which to me then, form and formlessness, I mean, how many hands have I shaken? How many, yeah, I'm gonna join you for the hike have I heard already? And how often, yeah, I'm talking to one specific person now also. How often has this person not shown up? or run away in the middle of a session for whatever reason. So in the end, I just started to leave when I realized that isn't it. You know, if this guy is real, then he has to prove it. If this guy wants to take responsibility, do his sadhana and stop playing around, then he has to prove it. So if this guy is you, then you can feel like I am addressing you, that is true. And you may feel the sharp pains of truth. Because that's something that's gonna strike home. Hearing me talk about, you know, dishonesty is gonna maybe make you feel uncomfortable. This is like you're listening to me. I'm the bringer of pain, my friend. Right? I am the Shrike from the book Hyperion, although the Shrike was an utter disappointment. Well, maybe I should read the second one, but I was so disappointed by the first one that I never got to that. So yes, wild garlic, chickpea flour, and corn flour. That's better than other things. So maybe he's gonna come, but I don't want to be overly anxious about it. You know, if he decides to come, you know, I see him as someone who wishes to learn, a student of Zen, a student of truth. He says, hey, you know, it's a challenge. I want to be a warrior. I want to be strong for the people. Hey, I'll come and join the hike. And then in the end, not only just because, you know, I can do it, but because I've said I will do it. But in the end, I look at the deeds, and now I was clinging to the words again. So words will not be reality. The only reality of words is that I'm speaking. I have said something. And then you have to observe. So you look at what politicians are saying, and then you look at what they do, and then you bring it together, and that's then form and formlessness, in a sense. Is it? Well, words have no form, which is why you say something, then you have to act accordingly. So you say, now, I'm gonna stop masturbating right away. A week later, you masturbated. Then you feel like an utter failure. But the truth is that it isn't your resolve that is lacking. It's your approach that's a bit too extreme. From I really like masturbation to I'm never gonna masturbate again, you know, that's like a tough road. Which is why to give form to the formless, you have to build this up. You have to get used to be really, you know, sharpened steel. You're not gonna be sharpened steel from one day to the other. This is Attack on Titan again, the anime or the manga. You have to really practice this. The hardening. You have to do it. You have to actually go and harden yourself. And then in the end, it's hardening, it's resolve. It's pulling yourself together, which is why you need the cold. And that's a severe teaching. Especially, I mean, I can only talk about myself, but especially if it's on a 30-kilometer hike in bare feet. You know, sometimes I'm really asking myself, why do I must, you know, do I have to, or do I choose to go to such great length to prove to myself, you know, yeah, I've done it, you know, I'm really insane. No, I'm not really insane. The barbarian lunatic is not really who I am. It's just something that helped me to let go of being so mediocre. So yeah, Conan the Barbarian, the books or the stories are also, I have only read a bit of it, quite different than the idea of the movie. Yeah, so chapter 9. Krishna speaketh. Now will I open unto thee, whose heart rejects not. So this is Yes Man. You know, Yes Man, the movie, if you've watched it. If you haven't, don't watch it. It's just the idea that you just say no to everything for whatever reason. That's in the negative. You're living in the negative. If you catch yourself saying no to everything, then you have to start opening up again to experiences that can help you grow and heal and prosper. That doesn't mean you have to say yes to everything. That means you have to just start choosing, that is what I want to do, but it should help you to grow. If you're not this warrior type of guy that wants to hike barefoot for 30 kilometers, whatever, then do something else, but do it in nature. That's what I'm telling you. Go into nature, learn from nature, and then bring nature, what you've learned, back to wherever you live. And that's gonna change, slowly but surely, the environment in which you reside. But other people are going to feel like they're haunted, they're like wraiths. It's a bit intimidating, to be honest. So you have to learn to keep people also out. You cannot have everyone. I mean, not out in the sense, yeah, there's certain people you should be more open towards, which doesn't include touching or hugging, yeah, or any physical contact. It just means, you know, yeah, I'd be more open being in the same room with you than with the heroin addict sleeping in a puddle of his own piss somewhere on the streets. Simply because stage of development, you know. If I don't really properly live the life that I want to live, then I cannot help someone that's like really deep in shit. You know, he is then a symptom of the way everyone is living. And that means if you really want to grow and help, you learn first to help yourself. And from these experiences, maybe can rise an association that knows how to help, which is to encourage people to be strong again and to contribute to something. So you cannot just bring a drunk from the street into your home unless you are willing to clean up his mess, because he's apparently not able to help himself. So unless you've got the space and the resources, right? But what he needs most is probably stability. And he'd also have to want this. I mean, he'd have to want to stop drinking. But you cannot give him money, so you'd have to cook for him. So you know what I'm saying. You would have to create a center in which such people can then get their footing, and then you give them a purpose. That's then stability. Society doesn't give you really a purpose. It just says, you know, we just want your life. Well, what does it do, you know? Well, some people prefer to live on the streets. And if you get used to that, what are you gonna do? Okay, I don't know why I'm telling you this. I'm just saying now, because opening hearts, right? First you have to open your heart. And that will take a lot of focus and attention on yourself. It's a tough road. And then you wait for the people that come by themselves. You need people that have the strength to come by themselves. It has to be an active choice. You don't want to run after people. But you can say, hey, you know, I'm doing this, but you can join if you like. If you have your own strength, then, you know, if somebody comes, you don't say that, but it's apparent, you know. So if they come by themselves, that takes a lot of courage. And when they are then there, then you can start building. And maybe from this, you know, you become strong, you do your sadhana, you work on yourself, you become strong, you become stable, you've been hiking in nature for such a time that now you're really strong, you know things about maybe channeling energy, about manifestation, whatever, you have really done this, you're maybe 38 or 40. You know how to take responsibility, you know how to cook, you do your crochet, you're good without coffee, right? You have a direction, that's what I'm telling you. You don't just want to have fun. You want to give stability, and you see this is the way we can take, we're gonna do it. Now people come into your life, you've opened your heart. You can see something good in anyone. You can see potential in people. You know, this is what I'm talking about. This is what seeing the light means. I don't see you as the stench of piss. I see you as someone who fell. And there was no support for him. And he was just dropped too many times until he just couldn't get up because people came and they always, they just smacked him down. And maybe he wanted to be down. Well, then it's a choice. But the idea is that you become strong, and then people who need strength, but who also are strong themselves, they come and they maybe follow you, right? They follow you in a certain direction, and then this becomes like the center. And from this group of people who are now strong and do something together arises maybe something like a business. So now you're helping people to get closer to nature, to be creative. So now it's growing even further. Now you've got maybe 30, 40 people who are working together really hard to teach people how to be creative, to stay away from phones mostly, but to spread the message somehow. And to go into nature, to learn from nature, something like this, right? And suddenly you're generating an income and more stuff happens. Well, then you can take care of, people who lie around in their own piss. If they want to, but if they don't want to, then don't do it. Because otherwise he's just gonna be a dead weight. You see what I'm saying? Even the junkie lying in the puddle of his own piss, can follow the light if he wants to. And if he then follows the light, then he will come and ask, can I work here because I hate my life? But if he's not that kind of a guy, if he's not the I follow the light guy, but I create darkness, so there are something like dark beings. So if you go and just pick someone up on the streets because you think you want to help him, what you will realize is that some people do not want to go into the light. They just want to create darkness for people, and they'll just pull you in. And that's then just what this is. I believe that this is simply the way it is, that you cannot save everybody because not everyone wants to be saved. Some people really just want to drag other people down or use them for their own benefit. So you have to simply distinguish. So yeah, keep your heart open, but also know how to, protect yourself. But you don't sit around hating people. You just say, hey, there are stages. And then it's better to let go than because letting go is opening. You don't want to force a woman to live with you and love you. You want her to do so out of her own free will. Okay. Now I will open unto thee whose heart rejects not that last lore, deepest concealed, that farthest secret of my heavens and earth. Yeah, it's interesting because he says, now will I open unto thee whose heart rejects not. But Arjuna has rejected already the proposal made by Krishna. Do your duty, slaughter them. he has rejected this. Right? Could be wrong, but sometimes it seems a bit like flattery, right? So if Krishna still wants to push his point, you have to slaughter, or you have to kill, you have to wage war. Why does he have to use these whose heart rejects not? You know, why does he have to add this? It's like creating something, an idea, so that when he later comes again and says, now kill them all, you know, he will do it. I'm just saying it's a possibility. We have to be aware of schemers. So, I don't say you just have to be paranoid. I'm just saying, just pay attention. You know, what he's trying to do. So you can ask the devil for advice, but you have to consult your heart. And there can still be good advice in the devil's answer. It's gonna be really hard to, you just have to always mix in the light. So whatever the devil says, you just have to mix in the light. And I mean, the devil, what's the devil? It's just the light bringer. But the light bringer may answer you from a place of darkness, which is then why you know, okay, it's the opposite. Okay, or the middle way, right? He says this, okay, but what's the middle path? Okay. Whose heart rejects not, that last lore deepest concealed, the farthest secret of my heavens and earth, which but to know shall set thee free from ills, a royal lore, a kingly mystery, ye for the soul such light as purgeth it from every sin, a light of holiness, within most splendor shining, plain to see, easy to walk by, inexhaustible. They that receive not this, failing in faith, to grasp the greater wisdom, reach not me, destroyer of thy foes. They sink anew into the realm of flesh, where all things change. See, that's also interesting. They sink anew into the realm of flesh, where all things change. Why do they change in the... flesh should be the material world. They sink anew into the realm of flesh where all things change. But I thought everything always changes. I change every day. Nature is constantly changing. It never stays the same. Even without humans doing, weird stuff, cutting down trees, it still changes. It's never gonna be the same. Ever again. It's always gonna be a bit different. I have seen faces changing in front of my eyes, so what does that mean? People wear masks or what? How can you explain that to yourself? People standing in front of you wearing like a face and suddenly it gets eradicated and someone else is looking at you. What is this? I mean... So, yeah. When we say the flesh, we mean something that is always the same, but it isn't. It's not always the same. Right? I've seen people... each perspective makes you look a bit different. Which is why the mirror can never show you who you are, because you already look into it to try to create some kind of like a feeling. You're looking into the mirror and you're trying to tell this thing, how you're doing today. And then you're trying to project a certain image onto it. Either I'm ugly, and then you're trying to find some pretty, perspective. Oh yeah, from this angle I look pretty. But from this I look really ugly. Yeah, you've got work to do, my friend. Get away the mirror, start feeling how you feel, and then work with that. If you feel ugly, then you have to do your cleansing. And then you have to clean your mind and just hold planks. By me the whole vast universe of things is spread abroad. By me the unmanifest. In me are all existences contained, not I in them. It's just a bit mad, the guy, right? I mean, that's people you meet that have taken cocaine, right? They're like this, I am it. I'm not sure if somebody has watched The Spine of Night. The Spine of Night. It's a bit dark. But the guy who, there's this sorceress in the swamp, and she's working with this special plant that gives her magic powers. And then some other guy finds it, starts eating it, goes insane. Doesn't create balance, but just creates madness with it. That's like, I am the god, I will take you all into me. Yeah, okay, but you're still part of something else. So the idea is not that this cannot describe oneness, it's just that this thing that manifests or appears as Krishna is saying that, I am this, and that just doesn't work. If you've got form, then you can never be everything what you claim. Then you're just gonna say this, but by saying it, you are no longer it. And by being there manifest, you are not this one thing, because this one thing is everything, including you. So Krishna here saying, by me the whole vast universe of things is spread abroad. By me the unmanifest. In me are all existences contained, not I in them. Yeah, it's nonsense. Yes, so if you're in existence and I can see you standing next to me, then what are you? I'm just saying, a lot of people, they just talk themselves into, I'm God. I have done this. I felt like this. I can feel really conscious and super powerful, but I'm still part of a bigger thing. And that's understanding oneness. So the me in this is just wrong. That's the way it is. The me in this is just wrong. It's a bit like Arjuna talking to his own mania in the form of this Krishna guy. You could see it like this. It's a much more interesting approach. Yet they are not contained, those visible things. I just see all these deceivers. Receive and strive to embrace the mystery majestical. My being, creating all, sustaining all, still dwells outside of all. There's this one video where Eminem, in the beginning of his career, is sitting in an interview. And he just wears I know he looks incredibly like phony holy. He just sits there like really straight. And we all know that he's really dirty. We all know that he took drugs. We all know that he slept around. And then he's sitting in this interview with his eyes like cat-like, like he practiced this in front of a mirror, and he's just sitting there trying to answer these questions, but I mean, there's just no honesty in it. But he tries to really flatter himself. Oh wow, all this attention, I must be really good. No, you're really dirty. And that's why they worship you. Because they can feel good about worshipping you as being dirty, because it's just condescension. Oh wow, look at this idiot. I can clearly follow that guy because he's got it worse than me. He just doesn't know it. If you follow people like Eminem, then you're just trying to cheer for, wow, wow, you're super dirty. Yeah, and he got dirtier and dirtier and dirtier. Until nobody liked him anymore. And nobody gets it. Well, he just never got the hang of it. He should have stopped, you know. It's just, wow. What does money buy you? Prostitutes. Disgusting. Sorry, for me that's Krishna. In this story, you know, I don't want to dump on what you think a god is, but God cannot take any kind of a specific form and say, you know, I'm God, that's me. That's not gonna work. It has to be everything all the time. And that's a bit confusing because there are so many facets of life, which is why I say look at nature. That's the best thing because it's harder to identify. You know, you try to identify with a human, it's gonna be a bit hard. Yeah, because humans have intentions and desires. Nature just is. That's why I follow nature. Nature is much easier because it's basically emotion. It's pure emotion. It's pure energy. But humans have like other kinds of things and they polarize and all that kind of stuff. Nature doesn't run around polarizing. That's just something you start doing in your mind for whatever reason. That's probably then the predicament of being a human. That you can start splitting this stuff apart. Anyway. By me the whole vast universe of things is spread abroad. See, as the shoreless airs move in the measureless space, but are not space, and space were space without the moving airs. So all things are in me, but are not I. Yeah. At closing of each kalpa, Indian prince. Kalpa are these years or something, these time spans that are really long. I don't know, maybe a couple of million years or something. Which doesn't matter because time is, you know, it's something you feel. It's not something that is, right? You cannot say this is how long it is. It's just trying to say it's a really long time. Which is basically every day. All things which be back to my being come, at the beginning of each kalpa, all issue new-born from me. So he is the calamity. You see what I'm saying? By energy and help of Prakriti, my outer self, again and yet again, I make go forth the realms of visible things without their will, all of them by the power of Prakriti. Jing, ging, 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 ging. Yet these great makings, Prince, involve me not and chain me not. I sit apart from them, other and higher and free, no wise attached. Thus doth the stuff of worlds, molded by me, bring forth all that which is, moving or still, living or lifeless. Thus the worlds go on. The minds untaught mistake me, veiled in form. Yeah, I can only dump on this guy. It's just terrible. It's just too imbalanced. With the me, that's just what I don't like. You read this, you develop your own psychosis. The minds untaught mistake me. You know, that's like, I go to you, I say, yeah, I don't think you've got it, man. You know, you go to this Krishna persona, you say, yeah. You look at him, and they say, you don't know, you know, you're mistaking me for someone else. Yeah, it looks a bit like you're trying to get the guy to get his whole tribe slaughtered. Because his teaching should be in balance. You know, this kid, Arjuna, he should learn balance. That's why he's in the middle. And you're just standing next to him, trying to get him to slaughter everyone. But that's not how it is, you know, that just sounds a lot like war. So now I look at you and I see you and you say, yeah, you just don't know, you're untaught. It's just the only thing I see, right? I mean, you're standing in the middle, you're supposed to hate the other side. It's not about hating them, it's just about do your duty. Okay, you know. Maybe I just go back or something. Or I just keep standing here, see what happens. Don't have to kill anyone. You mistake me, veiled in form, not see. This is driving me insane. Because this is just... I mean, people think this is the thing, you know. They probably read this and think... I don't know. Not see they of my secret presence, not of my hid nature, ruling all which lives. You see, ruling all... Yeah, okay, I see it. You know, you're trying to take control. In the form of some Krishna guy. Yeah, but I don't want to follow you because it's a bit too violent for me. So leave me alone, man. Why are you talking so much? Vain hopes pursuing, vain deeds doing. Fed on vainest knowledge, senselessly they seek an evil way. What are you talking about? You're trying to get the guy to lead a war. Senselessly they seek an evil way. Okay, but the guy who doesn't want the evil way, you're trying to convince him that that's what he's supposed to do. Or that's what the story seems to be saying. The way of brutes and fiends. Yeah, what slaughtering people? But my Mahatmas, those of noble soul, who tread the path celestial, worship me with hearts unwandering. Knowing me the source, the eternal source of life. You know, it just makes no sense. It contradicts itself. Or maybe it's just duality. Just duality all the way. So he just, yeah, I do this. I say one thing, and then I say another thing, and then I say, well, figure it out yourself. It's basically it, right? An evil way, the way of brutes and fiends, but my Mahatmas, those of noble soul, who tread the paths celestial, worship me with hearts unwandering. Knowing me the source, the eternal source of life, unendingly they glorify me. Seek me, keep their vows of reverence and love. With changeless faith, adoring me, ye and those to adore, who offering sacrifice of wakened hearts, have sense of one pervading spirit stress. And no wondering India has a bit lost it. I mean, you really sometimes, if you stumble across the stuff in India, like the content in YouTube, there's a lot of weird stuff there. A lot of the, like, I think they've been really severely misguided at some point. A lot of weird stuff going on in India. I'm just saying, it's just super strange. Not saying we're much better. I mean, we're all kind of misguided. But if this is what they study, they should just, you know, study life. Why do they read this? It's just a poem. Maybe it's the translation. You know, it's possible. If you cannot read Sanskrit, but I mean, it cannot be entirely different, but I have heard that sometimes they say that some words translate different. So the guy, Sir Edwin Arnold, that's also what we have to understand here, came, of course, from England. And we know that England doesn't really, I mean, they're not really a peaceful nation, are they? Well, they haven't been at the very least. So, even if he learned Sanskrit and speaks it very well, his mind was already, yeah, taken over by the ideologies of England, which he also says in the beginning. So, for England, he says it in the beginning. I find this a rather important point. Of course, recording yourself, such as I am doing in a podcast, is also a bit like self-loving yourself. But I'm trying to stay really distant. But I am quite full. If I meet people, I usually give them a lot of myself. Because there just seems to be a lot of it. So I often, unless people speak about their emotions, I don't always necessarily need to know what you have to say. Because if I look at you, that's already the best expression I can find. So, eyes can perceive truth. You just look at it, but you have to have looked hard at yourself before you can really say how someone is truly doing. Because people can create images that that they project, but you have to learn to see through this. Anyway, it's just my idea of... You see, it's not that I am Om. Okay, I'm just gonna read this. They glorify me, seek me, keep their vows of reverence and love, with changeless faith adoring me. He and those two adore, who offering sacrifice of wakened hearts, have sense of one pervading spirit stress, one force in every place, through manifold, though manifold. I am the sacrifice, I am the prayer, I am the funeral cake set for the dead. I am the healing herb, I am the ghee, I am he who makes you slaughter everyone. You see how he often just highlights the really positive things? You see what he's saying? He's just highlighting his lightful side, completely ignoring his shadow. I am the sacrifice, okay, but sacrifice in what kind? What kind of a sacrifice? Like a blood sacrifice or, sacrifice of food? I am the prayer, I am the funeral cake set for the dead. I am the healing herb, yeah, and I'm the guy who's trying to get you to, kill other people. I am the ghee, the mantra, and the flame, and that which burns. Okay, that which burns. I am of all this boundless universe, the father, mother, ancestor, and guard. Okay, I am the guard. The end of learning. Okay, but what comes after learning? Knowing. Well, some philosophers say you know that you know nothing. That keeps it interesting, and that means you will never stop learning. So how can you stop learning? There's always something, unless you've seen it all, but life goes on, so you can have never seen it all, because life will always continue. It will always take new facets. And that's why it keeps being interesting. You see what I'm saying? In this way life will never be boring, you will never get sick of it, you just keep observing. So I'd like to observe people changing for the better, starting to do their sadhana, gathering together peacefully, just learning to meditate, channel energy, stand strong for also, future generations. I would like to see this, people getting together in harmony. The end of learning, that which purifies in lustral water. I am Om, I am Rig Veda, Sama Veda, Yajurved, the way, the fosterer, the Lord, the judge. Life judges. The witness, the abode, the refuge house, the friend, the fountain and the sea of life which sends and swallows up. Treasure of worlds and treasure chamber, seed and seed sower, whence endless harvests spring. Sun's heat is mine, heaven's rain is mine, to grant or to withhold. Okay, now comes death am I, That's one thing where you could say it's a bit shadowy. And immortal life I am, Arjuna, Sat and Asat, visible life and life invisible. It's still highly polarized. You know? If from 50 things, 49 are like, I am this, I am the flower that blossoms. Yeah, are you also the meteorite that crashes the flower? Right, I mean... Are you also the sword that cuts? Or the mother that eats its own child? Are you also this then? Why are you not talking about that? I think the poet was really running away from his own shadow. Ye, those who learn the threefold Veds, who drink the Soma wine, purge sins, pay sacrifice, from me they earn passage to Swarga, where the meat's divine. Of great gods feed them in high Indra's heaven, yet they, when that prodigious joy is over, paradise spent and wage for merits given, come to the world of death and change once more. Okay, so this could be saying, yeah, okay, you've had a nice time here and your people are doing like this. Now this has to be all eradicated so we can start anew. That's a different perspective. But then why all the flattery? You could just say that, well, your time's out, Just kill each other so we can start again. Yeah, I don't think it has to be this way. So I feel a bit more what he's trying to describe with words, just by seeing the way I act. I wouldn't stand next to you and say you have to kill them. I would say, hey, if you don't feel like killing them, then look for a different solution. I mean, that's what you could do. You could at least try. That's like an advisor, a spirit guide who stands next to you and tells you you have to do this. It's a bit phony. It's just talking you into something. Yeah, take the drug, you have to do it, otherwise you will never proceed. No, I would say, hey, if you're in a position and you really want to try this, but don't blame me for the consequences, because you don't know. You smoke one joint once, you don't know where it's gonna get you. You don't know where you're gonna land. You don't know anything. You can even tell yourself into something you take having an effect. You can tell yourself it's just imaginary. You take cannabis, you feel good, but for how long? Then you have to take it again, and then you feel bad again. So you have to take action. And that's the truth. So cannabis is just an illusion. It's never real. It feels real, but it isn't. You can still make experiences with this. I'm not saying it's not possible, but it's still all an illusion. And that's what also in the Count of Monte Cristo, came out. Heaven's reign is mine, to grant or to withhold. Okay. Of great gods, feed them in high Indra's heaven, yet they, okay, I have said this already, come to the world of death and change once more. So he could say, Arjuna could say, hey, my life is over, so I'm gonna fight. Well, if somebody wants to follow me, but you could also say, hey, I'll rather live, I don't want to just throw it all away just yet. They had their recompense. They stored their treasure, following the threefold scripture and its writ. Who seeketh such gaineth the fleeting pleasure of joy, which comes and goes. I grant them it. Yeah, that's basically war. It's fleeting pleasure. But to those blessed ones who worship me, turning not otherwhere, with minds set fast, I bring assurance of full bliss beyond. Yeah, but on the condition of doing what? Nay, and of hearts which follow other gods in simple faith. Their prayers arise to me, O Kunti's son, though they pray wrongfully, for I am the receiver and the Lord of every sacrifice, which these know not rightfully, so they fall to earth again. Who follow gods go to their gods, who vow their souls to P.trees go to P.trees. P.tree, you know, the land before, you know, with Littlefoot. Me, P.tree. P.tree just flew. P.tree fell. Sorry, different times. Well, that's what P.trees are to me. Minds to evil boots, given over sink to the boots. You know, I was born on Fool's Day. It's a day in Germany. It's the 6th of February 1989. It's called Rosenmontag. So I clearly have this jester quality. So yeah, I can take a piss on anything. Even on the death of your grandmother if I wanted to. But I'd rather take a piss on this because this is not the answer. The answer is hold your planks, stop eating sugar, you know, and take a bit of bitter, right? Take the bitterness, go hiking barefoot, you know, do cold showers. If you feel like working for I don't know what, then do this, but stop complaining, then really love doing this for the rest of your days, but then don't complain that they misled you. Because of course, most companies will mislead you. You know, it's like Disney. Yeah, the guy was a smoker. He was smoking a lot. Okay, what does he know about life? He's just sitting around smoking. He never held any planks, and he died of cancer or something. I mean, he was clearly talking to you from a place of darkness, and then he also created movies and like mass manipulated them, and it's like, look at what nonsense they're making. They create nothing, just junk. The whole Hollywood is just trash. It's just garbage. You just have to see one cinema, how much posters that gets to advertise these movies. So I don't think I have to feel bad for just posting on the internet. If you see what Disney does, you know, you just don't want to become like a super large corporation and advertise what you're doing with leaflets and posters. You know, one cinema in one tiny village has maybe 17 posters for one movie. And then also all the other stuff, like cups and stuff. And not just posters, also banners and flyers. And that's just one cinema in one city for one movie that is being advertised in one country. Now, extrapolate this. How many cinemas are there? Alone in this city there's 2, and it's not a huge city. So in some cities there's like 20 cinemas. And then globally, I mean, Disney is running in all kinds of languages. People watch this, it's just nonsense. In the time where they're watching this, they could really live, you know. They're not doing it. So that's the shadow. Disney says, oh, super nice, but that's the shadow. This guy says, yeah, I'm all of these great things. But if you want to worship me, if you want to have the bliss, then you have to do as I say. Well, what about following my heart? It seems like your desire or something. You're trying to get me to do this. I'm gonna hate myself for the rest of my life because I knew there could have been a different way. And I should have rather worked hard to achieve this. Okay. Okay, with the P.trees. Minds to evil boots given over sink to the boots, and whoso loveth me cometh to me. Whoso shall offer me in faith and love a leaf, a flower, a fruit, water poured forth, the heads of your dear ones, offer me those. Well, why doesn't he say that? Well, if I'm supposed to worship you, then I don't have to do what you say, then I can just give you a flower. Just like you said, why do you want me to wage war? That offering I accept, lovingly made with pious will. Yeah, or it's just the test, He says well, you can actually, just keep offering me stuff. Well, maybe it's then Arjuna himself who wanted the war. And now he's, chickening out. So the duty then may not be, you see, it's hard to really pin this down. That offering I accept, lovingly made with pious will. Whatever thou doest, Prince, eating or sacrificing, giving gifts, praying or fasting, let it all be done for me as mine. So shalt thou free thyself from karma band, the chain which holdeth men to good and evil issue. So shalt come safe unto me when thou art quit of flesh, by faith and abdication joined to me. But in a sense it sounds like, well, whatever you do, do it with all your heart and it's gonna be alright. But if your heart isn't in raging war, then you should do it. I am alike for all. I know not hate, I know not favor. So if you do this, then don't do it out of hate. That's basically what it's saying. What is made is mine, but them that worship me with love I love. They are in me, and I am in them. Yeah, I have to really also prepare myself for tomorrow. Giant hike again. And on the 11th of June I have a 2-day hike. That's also gonna be a challenge. But I feel like it's okay. It's kind of also preparing me for winter again. I am alike for all, I know not hate. Okay, I have this already. Nay, Prince, if one of evil life turn in his thoughts straightly to me, count him amidst the good. If one of evil life turn in his thoughts straightly to me. So he seems to say, hey, I'm the light. Because did he actually ever say kill them? Or did he just say do your duty? And then the struggle is just within Arjuna. Well, what's your duty? Well, you know it already. You don't want this slaughter, so do something about it. Well, maybe that's the message. It's hard to say. If one of evil life turn in his thoughts straightly to me, count him amidst the good. He hath the highway chosen. He shall grow righteous ere long. He shall attain that peace which changes not. Thou, Prince of India, be certain, none can perish trusting me. So it could also, of course, be an act of faith. To go into war and have faith that you're gonna survive. It's also one approach, of course. It's like the Ragnar Lothbrok thing from the Vikings, right? You've got faith, you go into battle, you sacrifice it to the Lord, to your idea of the god of war. But then you just have to do it. You're not gonna whine about it. So if you start whining, then maybe you should just stick to, stuff like I do. Hey, I'll hike for the forest because I don't want to rage war to people. I don't really like this slaughter and stuff. Or so I believe. But you can detach yourself from it. But there's gonna be consequence. And I just like to be more relaxed, so I don't like the consequence of slaughtering people. So I choose to simply be peaceful. Whoso will turn to me, though they be born from the very womb of sin, Woman or man, sprung of the Vasya caste or lowly disregarded Sudra, all plant foot upon the highest path, how then the holy Brahmans and my royal saints? Ah, ye who into this ill world are come, fleeting and false, set your faith fast on me, fix heart and thought on me, adore me, bring offerings to me, make me prostrations, make me your supremest joy, and undivided unto me rest your spirits shall be guided. Oh wow, here ends chapter 9 of the Bhagavad Gita, entitled, wow, Raja Vidya Raguha Yog, or the book of religion by the kingly knowledge and the kingly mystery. It's not all black and white. It's not all. Yeah, you cannot say black is black and white is white and label it then, because it's also the other way around. So you have to find yourself in this. So if you like, let's say, if you love MMA and you want to be a fighter in the MMA, then you can do this, of course. But there's gonna be a lot of blood and broken ribs and noses, you know, that kind of stuff. But there's also another way of living. And it's also a matter of times, depending on where you live. And that's usually what I perceive. If I would have lived in different times, and I would have brought up with the way of the sword, now it's a pen, right? Now it's a microphone. It's also, in a way, you know, you can break someone in a battle of will without ever touching him. That's what I mean. Somebody runs around and they think they're super strong, and they're like condescending towards everyone. And they come across someone that goes into nature a lot. That's basically a lion let loose, but with a direction. You can really, just seeing someone like this can already be a severe blow. So you can break someone's will, which is why if you go hiking barefoot in nature, you have to really take responsibility. Which is why if I see people that are a bit too broken, I usually do not really look at them, because mirroring them, the state they're in, can really shatter them to pieces. Which is why I usually only work with strong people, and I stay away from weak people, because if I look at you, I have a lot of presence. I'm just saying, I have tested this. There's people that were, you know, I was once in the park. I'm just gonna give you this example. I was once in the park, and it's hard to know what you're doing, but there was someone, and I consider at least, you know, like, I think he's a good guy, but he got really into these drugs and stuff, and he seems a bit lost. And I was there more for him. I also later needed to distance myself from him. And then there came this guy with a more, like, a darker complexion. You could say kind of like Arab, but I don't want to label this too much. He was just someone who lives off other people, off other people's hopelessness. So he's a drug dealer, right? He wants to sell you drugs, but drugs ain't gonna help you. Stop, you know, so that's why I say some people are more demonic. by nature, and some people are more life-giving by nature. I am more life-giving. Some people are just more demonic. And why they are so? Maybe it's a phase, maybe it's their upbringing, maybe it's just who they are. But if we're all beings of duality, I mean, there are light bringers amongst the Arabs, right? Amongst people with dark complexions. So we shouldn't label these things and say, yeah, they are like this and they are like this. No. But anyway, he came and he was sitting and he had like his t-shirt up and you could see his, he was just really skinny. So it looked like he had abs, but he was just really skinny. He probably does a lot of sit-ups or something. And then he was sitting there and he was trying to sell drugs to this friend of mine. And I was just standing there, like looking at him. I was just standing there looking at him. And suddenly he looked up and he said, "What are you looking at me? I have nothing for you." And I said, "He thinks he has something." I said, "You know, I don't want anything from you because you've got nothing." Which is the truth. Which is why he's selling drugs to people. To get something from them. He's got nothing. He feels empty, so he leeches off from other people, because the guy I mean, he has something to give, but he just wastes it all on nonsense. And so if you buy drugs from someone, there's an exchange. So on the spiritual side, you think you're just buying weed, but on the spiritual side, no, you're paying this with your time and your energy. It's not just the money you give, you know, your energy is gonna flow partly into this guy. It's just an illusion. You think it's gonna help you relax. No, it's just gonna take your energy away. And then the money, the 10 euros, that's just a trinket. The real deal comes with your life's energy. He's gonna take control over you. That's how this really works. I have felt this myself. Which is why you shouldn't buy from dealers. You know, if you want to work with cannabis, find it in nature or grow it yourself. That's just what I'm saying. But then don't smoke it, you know, make oil out of it. But only use it maybe to seek visions, or I don't know, but it's unnecessary. You can do it like this. It's better to be hard than soft. Because you're not something that can, you know, that can... Wait, what's that? The word. You're not something that can allow itself to be soft. You have to be hard. Your mind has to be sharp, because it's also a tool to protect yourself against manipulation. So all the mass manipulation only works because people are too soft. Like, you really have to be on edge a little. You've got to have claws. You've got to have teeth. You've got to have balls. So stop masturbating, stop smoking weed, especially from dealers. Right? So if you live somewhere where cannabis is growing in nature, then take it. But if you're not living there, then go for the stinging nettle. Just eat it. Make pesto with it. Stinging nettle is awesome, and by collecting it, you start activating, you know, your meridians. It goes straight into the vein. This is acupuncture. The stinging nettle. Its sense, its juices, its energy. This is a buzzing of energy. I have once... Okay, that was with truffles. I have slept in the forest, and I was awakened in a dream by like an entity that turned out to be the stinging nettle. It came buzzing. It was in front of me, like buzzing, and it was radiating light, and I knew it was the stinging nettle, and I got closer. Or it got closer and closer, and suddenly it made zzz, like a shock, and I was like, boom! wow, I was awake. And in the same dream, I had this insight. There was a voice saying, or I came up out of this dream, it says, ticks are healers from nature. They're not like evil things from the underworld. No. So go into nature. That's what I'm telling you. You need to reconnect with nature. And what happened with this guy was, he looked at me and then he said, yeah, you know, I've got nothing for you. I said, yeah, because you have nothing. Of course, the conversation was in German, but it matters not, because what passed between us, you know, he thought this was his territory, but I was too big for him. I go hiking barefoot. You know, I look at you, you're gonna feel naked. You're gonna feel that you're not a good guy, that you're not a cool guy, that you're ridiculous, that you've got no power. That's what you're gonna feel. Which is why I stay away from such places. Because people have knives and stuff, and I don't know how to deal with this. Plus, I don't want to deal with this. If you're super imbalanced, and you're getting so angry at truth, which you're going to radiate once you do your cleansing. You know, there's people that will get so angry at truth, you know, that they'd rather stab you than accept that you are there. I don't want to risk this. So I channeled it into my creations. Anyway, what happened, he then suddenly, you know, he walked away and closed his jacket and just sat there on a bench. You know, like 20 to 30 meters down. He just walked away and was avoiding my gaze. And then his friend said something when they left, like, yeah, you're crazy. Like, why? I just stood there and looked at him, and he already felt intimidated. And this really happened, whether you believe it or not, it's irrelevant. But I was there, and I wasn't like I am today, so I learned a thing or two about also who to look at. Sometimes I just flash people certain things, but whether they want to change it, it's hard to say. So you will never have work with everyone. If you start seeing your own potential as a channel or a being of light or a ray of hope, or you say, hey, I can heal, yeah, heal yourself, and then the rest will happen just in your surroundings. Right? Your whole environment will start changing. I'm still experiencing some of the ripples. So I cannot say to 100% what's going to happen. I just realized that things have changed. And that I simply have created a lot of space. That there's a lot of space in my heart. But you will never have work with everyone. You have to focus on certain people that you feel you've got to work with. You can run away into all kinds of people and then look like Sadhguru saying, I have 1 million children. Ha 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 ha. What? You've become your own joke, man. Driving around on a motorcycle? What are you trying to be? Sitting somewhere in America with sunglasses? Like, what are you? Some kind of superhero? I mean, fame got to your head. I don't see that you've got anything, you know. Some people, they just go, you know, they just test, you know, they just learn a bit of meditation. Yeah, okay, but what about the rest? You know, what are you doing? Okay, what am I doing? I think I'm teaching. Maybe a delusion, maybe a waste of energy, could be all kinds of things. But what I chose is, you know, you gotta do something. And because I started with this, I feel like I simply have to continue with this. And it's just part of my shadow. That's basically what this is about. Cheerio!